All right, we have Steven Ward here from VyFinance. We're going to pick his brain. We're going to talk to him about all the exciting things he has going on in VyFinance. He has a Launchpad T-1 that we're going to talk about at the end. If you stick around, there's going to be tons of value, tons of nuggets, so many opportunities going on right now in Cardano DeFi. And we're going to ask Steve the question to start off right now. Why is VyFi Cardano's? I love this tagline, by the way. What makes VyFi the most Cardano Dex? I love that. The most Cardano Dex.
The most uniquely Cardano Dex. Yeah, there's a few things that makes us super uniquely Cardano, but the way that I like to think about it is many other dexes on the chain have looked at dexes as they behave on EVMs or as they behave on other blockchains and have built themselves to mimic that process and particularly that user flow. Whereas we've taken a much more bespoke approach of looking at Cardano's technology and the power that it offers us and designing our decks around Cardano's technology and the subsequent implementations that that provides, rather than trying to look like an EVM dex.
Taking advantage of that UTXO sort of accounting model as
hmm
opposed to that,
hmm
account-based model that you see in
hmm
like Uniswap, PancakeSwap, a lot of the Ethereum dexes that
Well,
pioneered.
the EVM chains in general, the
Yeah.
account-based model of EVM chains versus the UTXO model that we have on Cardano lends itself to different implementations.
Mm-hmm.
As an example, we implemented the first transaction cart in Cardano. I believe it's currently the only transaction cart in Cardano still. A few other projects are currently building theirs out as well, which we wish them all the luck. We know how hard it is. We went through that process ourselves. Um, but that's now was 2 months ago, and that is essentially a consequence of the Cardano model allows us to very easily split transactions, and transaction splitting is built into UTXOs. So what this means is that we can submit 40 orders in a single transaction, right? And by being able to do that, we're able to scale in a slightly different manner because we can scale by, instead of stacking more transactions at once, we're putting more functions into a single transaction. And secondly, it makes the whole DEX process just a lot faster because you can stack your orders together. So it means you can do all of your orders at once. And let's do an example of this. So on VyFi, you can. Oh, I feel like we've skipped a few steps in VyFi, but that's fine. Let's just jump in. We've spoken on this channel before. So on VyFi, you can stack your orders into a transaction cart. So let's say if you were on any other DEX and you wanted to change liquidity from 5 liquidity pools to farm 5 different liquidity pools. That's a really standard day in the life of a liquidity trader. On a standard DEX, you're going to have to remove the liquidity. You're going to have to take both tokens, swap both tokens 5 times. So that's 5 remove liquidities, 5 token swaps, and then 5 add liquidities, and then 5 stake to farms. That's 20 transactions. With VyFi, you don't even need to unstake the liquidity because we've got stakeless LP farming, another very uniquely Cardano implementation. So you just need to, oh, I forgot, unstake your farm. That's 25 transactions, sorry. On VyFi, you just need to break your LP, which you can do all 5 breakings in one transaction because the transaction cart. So there's one transaction. Swap the 5 tokens, which you can all do in a single transaction because of the transaction cart. And then supply liquidity to 5 liquidity pools, which you can do all at once in a single transaction, right?
It's nuts.
So that's 3 transactions. So your workload has just gone from 20 to 25, depending on how I counted that, transactions down to 3. So not only does that save you in terms of money because you're doing less transactions, but it also saves you in terms of time because you only have to run 3 transactions. You could just stack it all in, do it once, boom, stack it, do it once, boom, stack it, do it once. Done.
It's
You know,
so incredible.
yeah, it's awesome. This is one of the ways in which we're uniquely implementing Cardano's tech to make life easier for the user, right? That's something that's one of our most recent things that we're really proud of. That took 6 months work to put that together. It was hard and effortless. And it contains pretty much everything on our site. So you can add liquidity, remove liquidity, buy lottery tickets, do trades, access the bar. All of these things are being done, can all be done through our transaction cart. The bar is another great example of another really uniquely implemented Cardano product. We built the first smart contracted on-chain distributive mechanism on Cardano. And in building this, we've had to implement it in every single pool and every single liquidity pool in our DEX. And we've built it up using a system called embedded liquidity pools. And we've got a whole write-up on this. You can have a look at it on our Medium. But functionally, that's another example of us looking at Cardano's tech and implementing it in a creative way to build the first distributive mechanism on Cardano. And you can access that just by staking your VyFi at the VyFi Bar.
It's amazing.
You know?
So I've read all that and I've loved it. And I've been a part of the bar for a long time now. And I encourage anybody watching this to go on VyFi and just practice, play around, take a little bit of ADA and just practice and play around and look at the cart and check out the differences. Because what's so cool about VyFi, what you guys have done is you have not piggybacked off of anything else. You're literally blazing a new trail and capturing the essence of what Cardano DeFi can actually maximize. So the VyFi bar is so cool. You actually stake your VyFi in, and then in return you get X VyFi. And explain to me the math on that. So it's really exciting, and I think it took me a little bit to understand it.
So the bar, when we first launched it, starts at a 1-to-1 ratio, and what that means is that for every 1 VyFi I deposit, it mints me 1x VyFi in return. Now, as time goes on, we essentially collect the fees that are amassed on the DEX, and we convert these fees all to VyFi, and then we do an operation called a serve, and we serve those fees to the bar. And when we serve these fees to the bar, we don't mint any X VyFi. And that's really important. So what this means is that whilst it starts at a ratio that for every 1 VyFi you put in, you mint 1x VyFi, for every serve, you're actually going to reduce that ratio. So the price essentially goes up against VyFi. After the first serve, you're minting 0.99x VyFi for every VyFi you put in. Now, the beauty of this is that it acts in reverse, which means I can actually access that serve, that profit that I've made, by burning my X VyFi. So if I send my X VyFi back into the bar, I'm going to be pulling out my proportion of all the serves that have been made to the bar. So let's say you started at the beginning, and this is where we are right now. I believe it's about 1.13. So for anyone who started on day one, that put their VyFi into the bar on day one, for every 1x VyFi that they minted, they now currently hold 1.13 VyFi. So that's been a 13% growth by rebuying that VyFi off of the market through the fees that have been produced on our site. So most importantly, it's sustainable growth, because we're not just minting that token. Every token that's gone into that bar has been bought from the market.
It's so cool. And that you then get to take that X VyFi, stake that, get LP tokens, and then utilize those L2 LP tokens. That's something also that's extremely unique. What the heck is an L2 LP token?
Let's take one step back. I touched on it very briefly before, and that was the stakeless LPs. So Cardano offers non-custodial staking, and in offering non-custodial staking, it allows us to basically stake Cardano to stake pool operators or to stake pools, but that Cardano is still available to us to use in our wallet. So Cardano isn't locked in the staking process. It remains custodial to the user, hence we call it non-custodial staking. An LP is a liquidity pool token, which is what you receive after you provide liquidity to a DEX. And that essentially represents your share of the liquidity pool. Now, these liquidity pool tokens are much like a stock. They represent your ownership, right? So you can trade them back to take back out your liquidity or your tokens that you've put into a liquidity pool. Whenever you get a liquidity pool token, your first job is to get that liquidity pool token into a farm. And to do that, you stake your liquidity pool token to a smart contract, and then you get a payout. What this means, though, is that the liquidity pool tokens are leaving your wallet rather than staying in your wallet, and they're becoming completely unusable to you, when those liquidity pool tokens are actually representative of the 2 tokens that you contain. So if you're in the Art of VyFi pool, that liquidity pool token is representative of 50% ARDA and 50% VyFi. We adapted Cardano's tech, non-custodial staking, and we adapted that into non-custodial farming so that users are able to hold LP tokens in their wallet and still farm just as if they were staked at a farm. And what this also means is that we can roll up all our harvests into one. So we don't actually let people farm one farm at a time. You can only farm all the farms at once. This means that it's a lot cheaper for the user to engage as, again, conducting less transactions, and it's a lot easier for the user to understand what's going on because nothing's leaving their wallet at any point in time.
It's amazing. It makes so much sense that those LP tokens are a representation of that value that's going to fluctuate. So a user can actually go on to VyFi Dex and just purchase the LP token.
Correct. So you can actually purchase the LP tokens directly from the DEX. And that works through our L2 LPs or layer 2 liquidity pools. So as the value is now unlocked in those tokens, we have the opportunity to try and actually do something with that value rather than just leaving it sitting in your wallet. So we've built a tool called a layer 2 liquidity pool, which allows you to actually match those liquidity pool tokens with Cardano and add them to liquidity, thus allowing you to actually farm again on a second layer on those tokens because you're adding those LPs to a farm. But it also means that you're able to reduce your net impermanent risk by 50% because you've changed the structure of your portfolio. It's now 75% Cardano and 25% token. This is actually very akin to a balancer 80-20 pool on Ethereum. So using Cardano's implementation, we've essentially been able to create balancer 80-20 pools, except our ratio is 75-25. And we've been able to make these pools exist as a consequence of Cardano's implementation. It's not fancy, super secret smart contracts. It is just implementing Cardano's technology in a way that allows us to now create balancer 80-20 pools as a natural consequence of having stakeless LPs. This is something that we're super proud of. And the other advantage is now that, exactly as you said, users can go straight to the front end of the DEX and they can just buy the LPs directly from our front end. And because we have non-custodial farming, as soon as that LP hits the user's wallet from the trade, they're instantly farming. They don't have to do anything else. And we actually call that one click to farm. So we're the only DEX in crypto that you can go from having the token on chain to farming in a single click.
It's just astounding. It's really amazing, having played around on so many DEXs and looking at the Ethereum side of things to actually have this one click and you're automatically farming. It's like automatically farming. Who wouldn't want to just begin to farm? You save yourself on transactions, on time. It's exciting. And then it's just so much fun to then stack up those LP tokens in a farm also. And you're just getting all the different kinds of rewards. Man, if only more and more people understood the brilliance of what's going on. Now's the time to take a leap and get into it and practice and mess around and, just discover the beauty of VyFi. You were saying that you have also an upgrade coming.
So we've got an upgrade coming in the next few weeks for our processors, which is going to speed up all the transactions on our site so trades go through faster. We're really excited for that one, and that is going to be released at the same time with factory contracts. And what factory contracts means is that users are going to be able to create their own liquidity pools on our site. So there's no longer going to be a restriction on that. And if you put together a pair and you try to submit it, it's just going to automatically create the liquidity pool for you. So factory contracts are going to be launched. Improved processor is going to be launched. Where I don't want to give a date to it. We've got the MVP right now on testnet. We're putting it up on testnet as we speak. So we're in the middle of testing it. Assuming testing goes well, it could be fairly fast. If we have some hiccups, it could take a little bit longer. So I don't want to give a date.
That's wise. Yeah, that's wise. Moving hard. This stuff is probably way more unimaginable to construct than the common person like me would think it takes. But the factory farms, that's awesome. So you can actually put together your own farms, put together exotic farms.
Factory pooled. So it's factory liquidity pooled. So anyone will be able to create their own liquidity now. So if you have your own token, you can just go there, match it with Cardano, and press the go button, and you'll have your own liquidity pool on our site. This is how it works on MinSwap currently, how you can create your own liquidity pools. We're going to have that function as well.
Nice. That's fantastic. My gosh. Where do you guys stop? What's up with the Autoharvester?
The Autoharvester is going to be coming out in a few phases, and we're working towards the first phase now to really assist in that Autoharvester, which is our liquidity manager. And we realized that one of the toughest things that we had in... Okay, there's a bit of a story here, but let's sort of simplify this. With an Autoharvester, we want to create unique risk profiles by holding multiple tokens at once. I.e., you want to farm SNEC, you want to farm Baby Snack, you want to farm Hosky, a little meme pools, right? What's incredible about our system is that our system actually has the capacity to let you do that if you engage with layer 3 and layer 4 liquidity, L3 and L4 LPs. So that means you take joint LPs, so for example, the L2s that we were talking about before, and you mix them up again. It becomes a bit similar to alchemics, if you've ever heard of them. What we can do, or what we want to do, is we want to build a liquidity manager for users to be able to build their own custom risk profiles, just like putting together Lego blocks. So you'd put one Lego block down and you'd say, I want this to be that token. How much of that token, like WMT, how much WMT? 100%. And then we pull in another token. How much do you want that token to be? Let's say it's Copy. I want this to be 50% Copy. Right? So now I've just built an Autoharvester, which is half Copy, half WMT, and that's going to be farming on VyFi. But then you can actually mix that and you can add in a third and a fourth token. And that will automatically layer the LPs together to give you the structure that you're after in your Autoharvester.
That's it's like a
Yeah, it's a bit of a shift, and we're going to be doing a big write-up about this, and this is going to be the first phase now, because we realize that we can actually use LPs as a way to create bespoke layered liquidity based on what the user wants. So think about having a pie chart where it's like, what's my risk, right? It starts off at 100% ADA, and then I pick WMT, Copy, VyFi, Agix, and Igon. Right? And now, based on that combination, it's going to move to 15% each, or about 15% each, right? And then I say, well, I want to have more in Igon. So I'm going to increase my Igon from 15% to, there'll be set ones to pick from, but like from 15% to 30%. So double my Igon. And then it'll adjust all the rest. So now your Igon is 30%. Your ADA will probably also be 30% at that point, and the other ones have adjusted down. And then when you're happy with how your risk is looking, you press the submit button, and then it'll automatically layer the LPs together for you to give you that risk.
And they're all farming. They're all automatically farming because of the novel
Correct.
mechanism. My God. And
exactly. So they're all automatically farming because they're all LPs that are layered together, which each layer is giving you a farm.
That's pretty incredible.
Thank you.
It's like how traditional finance, like they hedge stocks and oil and bonds and things like this. I mean, now we could literally take the Cardano native assets and
build your own folk layer.
Exactly. Wow, that's really cool. It's like hands-on. I mean, you there's so many tools, there's so many implementations. It's so creative and it's fun. It becomes a game in a way, that an exciting one. By the way.
And the other fun thing that it'll be is like, there'll be a lot of fun things to play around with. Like, oh, so if I move in that last structure that I had and I move my Agix from a 17% coverage to a 26% coverage, how does that affect my farm? Am I willing to take on maybe that extra farm that I get from changing my risk profile to that in exchange for the risk profile that I'm changing? Like, there's essentially unlimited combinations here, right? And you think of it like the Lego blocks. I really like to think of it as Lego blocks. Add in this token, add in this token, add in that token, add in that token. How do the liquidity pools construct together to give me that profile, right? And because we have the power to layer our liquidity pools together, because we have non-custodial LP farming, we can actually just then build out that risk profile for you in an LP layer, which then, one, adds liquidity to the net Cardano ecosystem, of course, and two, gives you the risk profile you want, and three, allows you to farm every single step of the way in that risk profile.
I mean, it could be a job. I mean, I see it as an exciting way to hedge making a living. It's fantastic.
Yeah, well, that's the idea, right? So this is something that we've been working on now for sort of 3-4 months, and I think we're getting to the point now that we're ready to present the concept to the community. Because I know people have been like, why haven't you been doing the Autoharvester? Why haven't you been doing the Autoharvester? Well, it's not that we haven't been doing the Autoharvester, is that we've really worked out that the first implementation of the Autoharvester should be this capacity to let users bespokely build their own risk profiles and layer the LPs for them to create that risk profile.
And you said it's coming out in phases. Phase 1 is there a limit to how many assets you can stack up as a?
Yeah, so that's a starting point, right? So phase 1 is going to be L3 LPs, which is going to be a maximum of 5 assets.
L3 LPs.
Mhm.
That's awesome.
So I think as a starting point, that's great, right? And then the next part is that we want to be able to access risk from other dexes as well, because there's lots of other dexes on chain that we want to be bringing back to VyFi. So what we also want to be able to do is and this is phase 2, is we want to be able to build a system that not only uses our L1, L2s, and L3s to build that out, but we also add it to liquidity on other chains within the profile that you want, so that that's automatically bundled for you. So you can also basically adjust sliders to check out, if I put a little bit of the liquidity on that DEX instead, how does that affect my net return on this profile? And that's phase 2. Phase 3 is when we then take that concept and we'll start. Oh god, and now there's the prime chain thing. Whew, so much. Um, we'll likely start with some partner chains. I'm not going to go into that today. I'm leaving that for another interview on another world. Um, but we'll be starting with some partner chains, and from there we're looking to essentially cross chain this system so that we can then allow you from our front end to, let's say, farm Ethereum, Bitcoin on SushiSwap. Right? That's the ultimate goal. That will likely take years. Just don't don't expect that out tomorrow. But this first liquidity phase where we're implementing our system is what we're really excited about. And this is also going to be going alongside probably set strategies that we've pre-built for people, right? Because whilst it's really great to just have the capacity for everyone to bespokely build things, not necessarily everyone wants to think that hard. So we need to have some pre-built strategies that people can just engage with.
Jeez, yeah, no, for sure. And 5, that's just awesome. I'm already imagining right now like what I would be doing, and what are the 5 assets I'd be stacking and the ratios that I'd be tuning them to, and it's like, so I'll be really excited and happy to do a video just by myself, taking people through that process so they can kind of like follow me
Mhm.
along with it. And yeah, if I haven't said it
Mhm.
before, if you're watching this far, just play around with VyFi. It's fun. It's exciting. I mean, everything that you have going on is really
Thank you.
exciting. Like the vaults. I remember when I first started just playing around with your vaults, and I think that the way you guys have your vaults is so much more exciting than any other vault,
Thank
out
you.
there. I mean,
Yeah.
just the bar and staking that X VyFi, and it's exciting because yeah, my VyFi, like my X VyFi, when I return it, I think what is it,
Mhm.
0.83 VyFi X
Mhm.
VyFi per VyFi. I mean, when I started, I think it was like
I'll give you the number.
0.93.
I'll give you the number right now, actually. Because that number's changing every single day. Um, and that's exactly what we do, and that's what we're going to continue doing, right? We we're in a really interesting position in Cardano that we need to build out. We've got, sorry, a roadmap. We've seen DeFi happen on Ethereum and happen on other blockchains. And we know what tools we're targeting, in that we know what tools are going to make people's lives easier to be able to manage themselves on those chains. But what we don't have is a clear roadmap as to how to get to those tools. So what we want to do is really focus. Wow, that's gone up. Yeah, it's 1.154 X Wi-Fi. Sorry, Wi-Fi for every Wi-Fi, and the reverse is 0.866.
It's fun to
So,
look at that. It's fun to look at that every couple of days and watch that number change.
and what we really want to do is we're trying to create a roadmap here for ourselves, a new roadmap to give users the tools to really manage their liquidity effectively, but do it in a way that Cardano allows and is natural for a UTXO model, rather than a manner that's natural for an EVM model.
Hmm.
And that's why, back to the original point, that's why I call us the most uniquely Cardano DEX, because that is our focus. It's always, how do we implement the UTXO model in such a way that we're able to both simplify the user process as well as make tools that are going to be unique and effectuate change, make it easier for people to engage with DeFi.
Yeah, I think that the fact that you guys started off that way, and some of the other dexes kind of went that AMM route differently, is gonna be really powerful for you guys in the end. Where I think most of the other dexes will probably look at what you guys are doing and sort of implement some of these ideas, but that's going to be, you know, a difficult process to jump on board with.
We're already seeing the transaction cart get implemented places. You know, like people are already coming out and saying they're building their own transaction carts since we launched ours.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting, man. It's exciting. Is, you know, here's another like wild question I have. Is it ever in the roadmap coming out that like VyFi would be used as like the transactions, or is it always ADA, or is there some implementation where there's utility within or is that like a completely non?
You need to go talk. You need to go talk to Charles Hoskinson's about that. I would love to be, yeah, I'd love to be able to do that, but you need the chain to accept those tokens, and for that to happen, we need the SPOs to accept those tokens, and for that, we need a consensus protocol to come to agreements on that. So, do I expect that to happen anytime soon? No.
Well, I
Sorry.
mean, hey, with Intersect or with these votes, maybe there'll be some sort of proposal, because I'm sure a lot of other people would like that.
If you could use CNT for payments, that would create a lot less friction on chain.
Yeah,
Let's say that. There's definitely a use case for it.
just something I had a thought of. I don't know why that it peered into my mind, but I've been thinking about that for quite some time. As you know, like wanting to question.
Well, Charles said that it was going to be possible at some point. He did say he wanted to make it possible at some point, but this was 2.5 years ago, and Charles says a lot of things.
Yeah.
So
that's fantastic, Steve. This is so good. I mean, there's so much information. It's really astounding. I can tell that you have a mathematician background, but like super versed in finance, and just there's so much going on. What are some other things like to close it out? Any other things you want to talk
TM1,
about?
come and check out TM1, guys. Yeah. TMinusOne, that's our Launchpad. We're launching a lot of exciting stuff. So most immediately, we've got Ollie Token, which is going to be launching on the 4th of June. And then after that, Ollie Token is going to be doing their pre-sale first, and then their main sale. And then they're going to be launching their liquidity on VyFi. We've got the Palm public sale coming up in about a month and a half. We've got Token Allies, which will be launching soon after Ollie. We've got Twin that will be coming up in about 2 months. Oh, do we have a lot of launches coming? So definitely come by, check out T-1 Launchpad, check out some of the projects we've got launching, and if any of them take your fancy, you know, jump on board some launches.
That's really cool. Yeah, no, I've been part of one of my wallets. I'm part of the Palmyra, the Palm token ISPO since the beginning. I'm excited to have their token generation event happen here. The first commodity exchange on Cardano. So I think those guys at Zengate Global are really cool guys, and the fact that they chose you guys to, you know, launch their stuff is quite it's something to be proud of in a way. I mean, that's in all these other token projects. Yeah, T-1, we'll share that. Like as we put this video out there, we'll put T-1 on the website. And
the big thing to add is T-1 is a regulated launchpad. Okay. So we do things legally, you know, so you need to do KYC to participate. So unfortunately, as an American, you're not going to be able to buy in. I do apologize.
Yeah. That's why I'm in the ISP,
but,
you know, get my tokens somehow.
Yeah. But the counter side to that is because we're the only launchpad on Cardano that's currently following regulations, projects such as Palm, Twin, RWAs are a classic case. That's real world assets. Compliance is really important because they're trying to work with governments. And governmental agencies and formal structures in the real world, you know? And if you're trying to work with formal structures in the real world, they need to know that you're acting legally. It's like, it's just how it is. I can't go to the Australian government and say, hey, Australian government, can you give me support on launching on the Sydney Futures Exchange, right? Or utilizing your services, or utilizing, you know, some regulatory things within the Sydney's Futures Exchange, and give us permission for this. And the regulators are going to look at you and go, no, you broke the law. You didn't even launch your token in a legal manner. What, you want us to give you the rights to exchange on the Sydney Futures Exchange? That's just the reality of it. So what we've really been able to do to distinguish ourselves is offer the first regulated path for launch on Cardano. And that in turn has garnered a lot of interest from a lot of large projects, because for the first time, an enterprise level project can go to the Cardano blockchain and say, oh, I can actually do my stuff compliantly here. And prior to T-1, there was no compliant mechanism for launch on Cardano.
So then in the future, that project has the ability to, or opens the windows and opens the doors to prove that in the beginning they were fully regulated and did things properly.
Correct.
Which in the crypto space is like, wow. I mean, how do you find time to sleep?
I don't.
T-1 just came out of nowhere. Like, what?
No, well, it came out of nowhere to you guys. It didn't come out of nowhere to me.
That's what I mean. I'm like, hold on, there's only 24 hours in a day, unless you figured out how to bet time.
No, I spent a year working on that bad boy. That one's taken a long time. So, it's separate. They're separate engineering teams, so they don't interrupt each other. I've got 4 engineers at VyFi and 3 engineers at T-1. So they're separate engineering teams, and they don't interrupt each other in terms of the engineering process. But what they do help each other with is that it gives us the capacity to assist projects launch compliantly and then assist us in their whole strategic process and then get their liquidity onto VyFi. Because we're helping them launch, and then we can help them launch their liquidity.
Yeah, and then create vaults, and you can stake, and so it'll definitely help out the VyFi token, right?
Ecosystem as a whole, the VyFi token as well, because remember, trades that go on in our DEX get sent back to the bar.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I'm sure like governance too, like maybe like the governance of whatever, if you ever do like voting on T-1, it could be like, you have to have VyFi or something.
There's a lot of ways that T-1 is going to be integrated into, or VyFi is going to be included. And that also comes down to mission control. And that's a whole other thing that unfortunately I don't have the time to talk about today. But you should definitely have me on in the next few weeks, and we should do an entire breakdown of T-1 and mission control and how we're building an enterprise level software as a service to assist in projects in managing their blockchain requirements for running a project. And this is really the core of T-1. It's not just a launchpad. It's actually going to be an entire system to allow projects to set themselves up on the Cardano blockchain automatically. And launching is one aspect to that. Then there's also the management of all these other things that go on chain. But I'd love to come back on and talk about that one specifically another day, because that's a whole thing.
Steve, thank you so much for your time and your willingness to just spit this out in layman's terms to us common folk over here that are just trying to understand what DeFi is, to the viewers who are really trying to learn and understand what DeFi is, and where they can participate on a DEX like VyFi and experience the comforts and the beauty of not only decentralized finance, but how it works with the Cardano blockchain, which is a lot different than some of these other blockchains. So I really appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure having you on here. And I encourage anybody watching to get on that DEX and just play around. You don't even need to connect your wallet. Just look at the deck, play around, read it for yourself. I'm confident that the more you look at VyFi, the more you're going to understand how powerful it is right now and the potential it has in the future. So thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you so much for having me, mate. It's been great.
Yep. We'll see you soon, man. Get some sleep.
See you soon.